How many times are they going to play that card? You were not called racist and sexist and homophobic if you don't like it. You were called racist and sexist and homophobic if you were racist and sexist and homophobic. Hey everybody, Pete Fletzer here. I haven't done one of these videos in a little bit of time. Star Wars Theory is back at it again. Of course, he's running out of things to complain about. And that seems to be the issue is, grifters make money when they have something to complain about. The problem is Skeleton Crew is actually a really good show. It's actually being very well received by many, many people. The problem is that doesn't make for very interesting content for somebody like Star Wars Theory or anybody who makes their living out of complaining about Disney era Star Wars. So what Star Wars Theory did was he created a video that kind of tries to blow this stuff back up, and we're going to watch it. And as we've done in the past, I'm going to cut it up. I think it's about a 13-minute video. I'm going to cut up my commentary. I'm going to comment on some of the things he would comment on, and let's just go for it. Let's see what he has to say. I haven't watched this video yet, so let's go for it.
TheorySabers.com.
As always, it's really just an ad to sell more Theory Sabers. Never forget that. That's what it's all about for him. Here we go.
This is unfortunate. And, I really blame this on the Last Jedi Effect.
They still complain about The Last Jedi from so many years ago. Guys, if you don't like Star Wars now because of what happened during Last Jedi, let it go. You're done with Star Wars. Star Wars isn't for you anymore. That's okay. That is okay. You don't have to watch it all the time, but you do if this is how you make your money, selling lightsabers and getting click-throughs. Here we go.
You know how the Solo movie really bombed because everyone was so pissed off with The Last Jedi.
Did Solo bomb because of how people were pissed off about The Last Jedi? No, it bombed because there was no promotion, which is actually kind of one of the biggest problems here for Skeleton Crew. But let's see where he goes with this.
The Skeleton Crew is just bombing, not because
he's kind of right. The ratings have been very poor, and I'm sure he's going to go into those.
Because it's terrible, like the Acolyte was, but because the Acolyte was so bad, it really turned off so many people.
Okay, here's the common grifter approach. The last thing was terrible. We told you it was terrible. We pissed off everybody, and now the next thing doesn't work because the last thing was terrible. And then if the next thing is terrible based on what they say, it's because Star Wars is being killed by Disney. And if the next thing is good, like Skeleton Crew, it's because the damage is already done. And I just want to say for the record, that guy standing behind Leslie Headland is freaking hilarious.
Each time that they break a show or a movie and just destroy the lore and alienate so much of the fandom, and then have those people that they hire, either the writers or the directors or whoever, or the actors, calling us racist and bigots and sexist and homophobic if we don't like the show or the movie.
How many times are they going to play that card? You were not called racist and sexist and homophobic if you don't like it. You were called racist and sexist and homophobic if you were racist and sexist and homophobic. Plenty of people didn't. I did not like the Acolyte. I said it. I've said it on my show. I've said it in videos. I'm not a racist or a bigot or a misogynist or anything. I just didn't like the show. You might not have liked the show, but the problem is your wagon has been hitched to people who are racists and bigots and misogynists. So that's the problem.
Movie, it really, really segregates, alienates, and deletes a huge section of the loyal fandom that really was there with George Lucas Star Wars and that made this company worth $4 billion to begin with.
Okay, once again, we're looking at this from a George Lucas Star Wars perspective. So that's your real argument. You don't like Disney era Star Wars. Fine. But again, it's not, they haven't segregated. You know who has segregated and divided the audience? People like Star Wars Theory, people who have gone out and made their entire personality telling people why Disney era Star Wars is bad. There are plenty of people who love it, but they don't make money from those people. The issue is trying to optimize that portion of the audience, which is what you do all the time, Theory. Come on, man.
And this is the result. Fans no longer care about Star Wars. Skeleton Crew suffers worst ratings on Disney+.
This is coming from Comic Book News, by the way, a notoriously negative Disney website. Just throwing that out there.
It's unfortunate. The Skeleton Crew is also the first Star Wars show to
and now Theory will read to his audience. It's story time with Theory.
Have its premiere make the Nielsen ratings, which are automatically turned on in your Disney Plus accounts. Samba TV has also again refused to publish numbers. Samba TV hasn't published ratings for a majority of the recent Star Wars or Marvel shows, likely at the request of Disney, who is an investor in the company, as obviously the ratings are in the gutter. First of all, what do you expect? It's the Skeleton Crew. And I like the Skeleton Crew. I've openly stated I like the Skeleton Crew. I don't understand anyone who says they don't like this show. This is literally like a fun little kids show. I don't see a problem with it. I think it's pretty cool. It's not Mando season 2, it's not Mando season 1, but it's, so for what it is, it's okay. It's like Page Master meets.
For what it is, it's okay. I don't want to oversell this, because people need to remember that we have to hate Disney era Star Wars. So it's okay for what it is. Whereas moments ago, I literally just showed a video of how much I enjoyed it. But you got to keep that tone.
The Acolyte, that really was the last project that came out, which destroyed and alienated so many people in the fandom.
He's not wrong. The Acolyte was a lightning rod of controversy, of people who, even the average Star Wars fans that I talk to on a regular basis, they didn't like the Acolyte. I was at a party just the other night, and somebody was talking to me, and they said, "What did you think of the Acolyte?" And I told them, and they said, "I just couldn't care about it." And I get that, and that is totally legitimate, and that's a fair point. But of course, there was no, what happened here was Star Wars Theory and others went out and capitalized on that perspective and that feeling, and started to monetize that, and only created more and more and more and more of that feeling. So I don't blame Star Wars Theory and the other grifters, but I do need them to recognize that they are as much part of the problem as anybody else.
The Acolyte being absolute shit garbage show that it was.
How are you supposed to take somebody seriously whose critique is it was an absolute shit show? That there's no thinking going on there other than hate.
Leslie Headland herself going on and insinuating that people who don't like the show are racist and sexist and alt-right. Now you have actual anger. Now you have actual resentment. Now you have people actually being vindictive.
And now you have people actually making money on that. And now you have people actually reminding fans of these sort of comments. And again, I said it before and I will say it again. They're not calling people who aren't racist and sexist racists and sexists. What they're doing is they're calling people bigots who are bigoted. Again, you don't have to have loved the show. You just can't be an asshole. I did not love Acolyte. I had issues with it, but none of it was because of the witches, because of the race, because of the sexual orientation. I just did not enjoy the show as much as I wanted to. Period. End of story. And I have learned to move on from that. And I don't hate Disney for that. And I don't hate them for saying that there are bigots and racists out there and sexists, because there are.
In the sense that they will not support anything else Star Wars. Some people are long gone.
If you're too ignorant to realize that they're not calling the average fan who is not a bigot, then that's your problem, and you are going to move on. And problem is, people like Star Wars Theory keep reminding people of this and keep saying this false narrative that if you don't like these shows, Disney thinks you're racist, which is not true at all. But again, it drives clicks to this guy's channel and sells those overpriced lightsabers.
People behind the show, the officials, Amandla and this and that, coming out and saying all that bullshit about us being racist and bigots and alt-right if we didn't like it.
Stop saying that. That is not true. Okay, I have to speed this up because I'm going to lose my mind if I have to watch this at the regular speed.
Amanda Stenberg blames fans for the Acolyte cancellation. And yet, this is really what was a huge detriment to them. First of all, they need to hire people that are more sane, more tolerant of other people's opinions, and not children.
Tolerance is something that people like Star Wars Theory have no understanding of. He always tags his videos with remember to be nice and remember to be polite to other viewers and other people who like this stuff. But he wouldn't create 90% of his videos about why not to like Star Wars if he was being tolerant of those that do like the current Star Wars.
Who will call you out for being a racist if you simply don't like a space show.
There he goes again. How many times has he done this on this video? He continues to play up this narrative that if you don't like something, Disney says you're a racist, which is 100% bullshit.
It seems many fans have simply stopped caring about Star Wars. Divided fan base isn't necessarily a bad thing. Some fans love it, others hate it. Okay, sounds like Ryan Johnson. But even the haters will still watch. Not really. The real problem arises.
The haters do watch. The haters watch and then tell other people not to watch. And I would bet secretly a lot of them enjoy a lot of the stuff that they sit there and complain about.
When fans stop caring. Fans are tired of the BS from the actors, the studios, and the shows. Reports the act.
Again, what kind of a journalism uses the phrase "fans are tired of the BS" from the actors? Again, he's playing up a story that reflects his narrative. It's the problem with the internet in general, is finding stories that reinforce your narrative, whether it's intelligent or not.
And, you know, they're making a mad mistake here because seriously, it's not the fact that Star Wars is dead. It's the fact that they don't understand Star Wars. And the issue here isn't that no one cares about Star Wars. The issue is that no one cares about Disney Star Wars. And
People do care about Disney Star Wars, Disney era Star Wars. People do watch it. You don't like it. You have told your 3.3 million followers they should not like it. So take some responsibility and stop with the false narrative.
And for them to start caring about Star Wars again, you need to go back to the truth of it all, which is the George Lucas version, George Lucas Star Wars, where we're focused on the hero, where we're focused on the hero's journey, the perils, the rise, the falls, the strength, the weakness, and the
This George Lucas worship. Look, I am an OG Star Wars fan. You can tell looking at me. I saw Star Wars in 1977 in a movie theater. I love the George Lucas era of Star Wars. I did not love the prequels when they first came out because they weren't great. They have since grown and become a very important part of a larger story, which continues to be told. But this George Lucas worship is actually quite disturbing. There is more to Star Wars than just what George Lucas wrote. That's what makes George Lucas's stories so amazing, is that they became bigger than him and became bigger than the original stories he told.
So when they're releasing stuff like The Mandalorian Season 1 and Season 2, I feel like that's exactly what fans want. We have been wanting stuff like that for a long time. And I feel like it's very George Lucas Star Wars. And you can see it by the ratings. It did very well.
Do you think George Lucas would only release what people want? The prequels were not, if you remember, what people exactly wanted. Nobody wanted trade federation, political disputes over trade routes. Nobody wanted that.
When you do stuff like what you did to Luke Skywalker, which is blasphemous, horrible, it dwindles a massive amount of the fandom.
What they did to Luke Skywalker was not blasphemous. It was actually what we would call a very good storytelling. And unfortunately, people have made that a rallying cry as well, that they destroyed Luke Skywalker. But the reality is Luke Skywalker was in a very different place and he changed, right? I'm not going to litigate the Last Jedi story again because it's actually a fantastic Star Wars story. And I know everybody who's here defending the Star Wars theory, if you've made it this deep into the video, you're pissed off that I said that, but it's actually one of the best Star Wars stories. I don't think it's one of the best Star Wars movies, but it's one of the best Star Wars stories. And it tells something about growing up, about changing, about dealing with the pressures of life. And clearly, that is a story that doesn't resonate with all fans, but it's a very good and very strong story.
You have to understand that this could be a dead brand if you do not change your tune. Stop trying to pander to political bullshit. Tell a good story. George Lucas.
It's only political because you made it political, because people like you saw it as political. And the reality is it was just characters. It was character choices. Now, again, the show to me was not very, it lacked quite a bit. But it was not political. Nobody should go into that show and be like, oh, look, lesbian space witches. No, it's Star Wars. It's the galaxy far, far away. And look, it's space witches doing their thing. That's what it's about. The politics come from people who are afraid of what they think they're seeing on screen. And that's where the real issue is.
Start to get level-headed people that take politics and their own psychological issues out of it, and they just tell a story, something that inspires people, that isn't predicated on whether you're gay or straight or black or white. It's based on if you're a good person or not. If you're
where in any of the new Disney Star Wars, Disney era Star Wars, where in that does the story rely on somebody being gay, black, white, straight, whatever? Nowhere is that a important part of the story or the character. It just happens to be who these people are. And that's a bigger problem for people who want to find an issue, who want to go with this quote unquote woke agenda stuff. That is the real issue here. Yes, Acolyte failed, and not necessarily because of the political agenda that you believe has been put into it. That is self-imposed. It failed because the characters weren't interesting. It failed because the show was choppy. It failed because it told a story in a time that people didn't quite connect with. It failed because nobody knew who the good guy and the bad guy was in the story. They just couldn't connect to any of the characters, and that's a bigger problem. That being said, the challenge for Skeleton Crew is that it really has not been very well promoted. It's been promoted extremely well on Twitter and on social media, but they're hitting people like me who are going to watch it anyway. Like Star Wars Theory, who's going to watch it anyway. Like the people who quote unquote hate Star Wars, who are going to watch it anyway. They need to expand that audience. We need to see those kids on late night televisions. We need to see Jude Law out there talking this up in other places other than just on the Star Wars Twitter account.
What I have to say about it. Stay tuned for that video that I have coming out. It's going to be
okay. So there we go. There we have it. That's the video. He didn't really say anything except over and over and over that Star Wars is to blame because they're throwing in political agendas, and the reality is political agendas are brought in by people who are bringing them in themselves, right? Like Yoda said when Luke went into the cave,
"What's in there?"
"Only what you take with you."
Thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments below. Am I right? Am I wrong? Is Star Wars Theory onto something here? Am I onto something? The reality is, unfortunately, Skeleton Crew is not performing as well as we would all like, because so many people like this show. I think long-term, the show is going to perform. I think it's going to have a longer curve up. I think the time it was released is a challenge. I think the fact that it came out after Acolyte is a challenge. I think the fact that it hit the Christmas and New Year and holiday season was also a challenge. So we shall see how this show goes. Again, it's being very well received by people who watch it, even the people who allegedly don't like Disney era Star Wars. Thank you so much for watching. If you like these kind of conversations, if you like to talk about Star Wars in a real and open and honest platform, join us on Thursday nights. Join me and Nick on ATG Live, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central. We have conversations about all things Star Wars. We go over the news of the week. We have special guests, and we talk about Star Wars from an open and honest perspective. You will hear that we did not love necessarily everything about the Acolyte. Nick and I disagree on what's good and what's bad in Star Wars, and that's great. Never once, by the way, is it because of lesbian space witches. All right. Thank you so much for tuning into this. Leave your comments below. Share this. Get somebody else's opinion on it. And make sure to like and subscribe and all the stuff you're supposed to do. I will see you later. Thank you so much, and may the Force be with you.